Hafa and welcome back to the show, everybody. Jason Salas here, and we are getting in depth with everything you need to know about living a healthy island lifestyle with our friends at FHP. It's Hafa Health Tips, and we have our good friend, Dr. Moping Tham. Doc, we have not seen you for a while, but always good to see you, of course. And we are talking today about aging, and I believe over your right shoulder, that is the perfect illustration of what we were talking about, balance.
Yes. That was totally unplanned. But
sure, I'm on to you. I see what you did there. You're visually using puns and everything, but I love it. That's a wonderful way to actually emphasize the point. Is we are talking about balance and the fact that your sense of balance actually does naturally go into decline as you age. Correct?
It does. So just like with everything else in aging, everything starts to decline as you age, including your balance. Mm-hmm. And the reason why that's so important is because, in the US, according to CDC statistics, there are 36 million older adults falling every year.
We hear about that all the time on Guam.
Huge number. And I work in urgent care, so I see a lot of those older adults falling. And a lot of times it's due to poor balance. There's a lot of things that affect balance. Obviously, not just mental decline, but vision, your innate sense of balance. Your balance centers are located in your inner ear, so sometimes that's off. You see a lot of people with vertigo complaints.
This is your whole sense of equilibrium and like your whole spatial awareness thing? Okay.
Exactly. But also part of that is your nervous system. That's, your sensors in your joints and in the bottom of your feet. Those have a lot to do with your sense of balance as well. And so if you have a lot of chronic medical problems like diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, all of those things will affect your nerve, your nervous system, your circulation, and your ability to maintain a sense of balance. And then top all that with aging, and you've got a lot of things going against you. But it's not all doom and gloom. There are definitely things you can do to help preserve your balance, even if you do have a lot of health problems. Mm-hmm. One big thing I see with people falling is, of all those 36 million falls, 1 out of 5 older adults end up breaking a bone or injuring their head. In the US, there's over probably 300,000 hip fractures a year.
I was going to say, you hear so often about somebody, somebody's grandmother fell over and everything like that, and they said she broke her hip. That happened to my grandmother, actually.
Yep. 95% of those hip fractures are due to falls. And most of those hip fractures are due to falling sideways. If you've ever watched an elderly person walk, they look like they're walking on train tracks.
Right.
They're walking in a straight line, and if they need to turn that way, they make a 90-degree angle, and they walk.
People my age would say they look like they're like RoboCop. You turn your head and then you turn your shoulders.
Yep. Yep. So, when you're walking, like you're on train tracks, all it takes is, you catching your foot on a corner of a rug, and it throws your equilibrium off. You start going sideways, and because your muscles no longer know how to move in a direction other than in a forward motion, if you're having to, catch yourself at an oblique angle, you don't know how to catch yourself because your muscles aren't conditioned that way. And then you go down like a ton of bricks and you break a hip. And I've seen plenty of patients go from being fully functional at home to ending up in a nursing home after a hip fracture. So, hip fractures can be very devastating. And if you talk to any older adults, what their major fears are about aging, besides losing their memory, the second one is falling and breaking a hip, because they realize just how devastating it can be to their quality of life.
Now, Doc, my mom is a senior citizen. I'm sure she wouldn't mind me sharing this story, but most recently, she had a physical checkup, and her primary physician told her, they said, Mrs. Salas, you're getting older. your sense of balance is going to decline. We can see it like it's not as sharp as it once was when you were in your 40s, but it's going to eventually like get worse and everything. So you need to pay attention to this. And the first thing I thought of, like just like your coworker Clarence Palasock, I've always considered myself an athlete. So the first thing I said is, well, Mom, is this something that we can exercise? Can we condition this? Can you actually, maybe not slow down the decline, but can you actually make it stronger? Is that all possible?
Absolutely. The old saying, if you don't use it, you lose it, is very, very true when it comes to aging. So as long as you continue moving and stay active, you can maintain your balance. It's part of it, I think, is fighting against these preconceived notions that a lot of people have about aging. And, people think, oh, I'm old, so I can't do this anymore because I'm old. There's no other actual valid reason for it. It's just in their head, they think, well, I'm old, so I shouldn't do this anymore because this is for young people. And I think physical activity is one of them. They're like, oh, I'm old. I'm supposed to sit in a rocking chair or sit in my lazy boy and just sit and watch TV. And, when you get to that point where you become a couch potato as an older adult, that's like, that's almost the end of the line for you, because once you become a couch potato, all your physical functions just decline so rapidly.
So Doc, am I understanding this correctly? So much like muscles and like tendons, the nervous system too can atrophy if you're not using it all the time and keeping it in tune and conditioned like a muscle would be, right?
Yes. Absolutely. Your brain is one of the biggest muscles out there. If you're not using your brain on a regular basis, whether it's learning new things or doing physical activity, you're going to lose that ability. And you can see that with older people all the time. As soon as they become a couch potato, they stop engaging and using their brains in an active way. The mental decline and the physical decline is very, very rapid. I've seen, fully functioning older adults who are living at home and, for whatever reason, they end up in the hospital, and just 2 weeks of being inactive in the hospital can cause a huge deconditioning that will take months of physical therapy come back from.
They told me that when my dad was in the hospital, actually, they said every day that you're in a hospital bed off your feet is basically like, what is it? Like 48 hours worth of actual physical activity that is robbed from you.
It's bad. So, I mean, totally not to diss hospitals. Obviously, they're completely necessary. When you're ill enough to be in a hospital, you need to be there, but you have to realize that it means huge deconditioning for you. And if before you enter the hospital, if you're already really deconditioned, being in that hospital is going to make things worse. So, if you're an older adult and you're pretty active and you get in the hospital, you've got better chances of, making it out in one piece. But if you're already severely deconditioned and you have a lot of health problems, being in a hospital for a couple weeks is going to set you back a lot.
Yeah. So what can we do to hopefully like condition and maybe kind of stay a little bit sharp when it comes to the nervous system and our sense of balance?
So really easy thing, especially for older adults, you don't have to do anything crazy. Just walk, go for a walk, 20, 30 minutes, 3 or 4 times a week. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. And if you can't manage to walk for a 20-minute period, whether it's just like too much for you or you just don't have the time, then split it up, 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the evening. It doesn't have to be anything super intense, but just
so just cumulative throughout the day. If you can just pull off 20. Okay.
Totally. Even for active people, we're all busy. Sometimes we don't have 45 minutes to an hour to dedicate to exercise. If you can fit in 10 minutes in the morning, maybe 10 minutes at lunchtime and 10 minutes after work, that's 30 minutes right there. So, your body doesn't care if you did it in 10-minute increments or if you did it in a 30-minute, shots.
Right. Okay. I do have another question, Doc, if I may.
Sure.
for older people, when you said, like a brisk walk is normally good because of their age and, because of maybe their physical condition, does it matter if they walk on an incline or maybe like even just like up a shallow hill, or for elderly people that maybe live in a townhouse where you have stairs or something like that? Is that a big concern, or is that actually advantageous because then you're staying fit?
I think it's advantageous anytime you add an incline to your walking, but obviously, if you've got a lot of health problems and you're very deconditioned, I would recommend trying to walk on as level a surface as possible to start off with. And then as you build up your endurance, then try to, find a small hill or a little bit of an incline, or, try to work your way up the stairs. Is completely legitimate.
Okay. So boys and girls watching this, you heard what Doc said. If you are a young person and you're taking care of grandma and grandpa, don't start out walking up Happy Landing Road. That's way too.
No, yeah. That's way too much, and it's very discouraging if you haven't worked out in ages and you're going up Happy Landing Road. You're going to get discouraged, and that's not going to encourage you to want to exercise more. Right. So, start off easy, get your endurance built up, and once you're feeling like you can handle a flat surface without getting too out of breath, then, start working your way up to, more challenging terrain. But I would definitely not start off with, walking an incline, because especially if you've got knee problems and whatnot, it may just exacerbate that. So that's not what I would recommend to start off with.
Yet another reason to go visit War in the Pacific Park down in Assen. It's a nice flat surface. It's nice and breezy, and it's the most beautiful island view you're ever going to see.
Yep, exactly. Or, even just Epow Beach. There's, plenty of flat terrain there. Lots of flat surfaces. The other thing I give as an option is the mall. A lot of people don't like working out outside because it's too hot, but most of the shopping malls are open early in the morning. Go there before the shops open and do a couple rounds around the shopping mall. It doesn't get flatter than the shopping mall. And you can go.
Here's another question for you, Don. Since you brought it up, I'm just fascinated with this topic, and I want to do what I can to help the people that I care and I love, right?
Sure.
Obviously, if you're a person of an older stature, right, you may have grandkids, and of course the grandkids on a wonderful tropical island like ours, they want to go to the beach. I would assume that that's a little bit dangerous because the sand, the sand shifts and, you can sink in it and everything. Probably not the best thing for an older person, right?
If you get on the harder part of the sand, the wetter part where it's near the water, that's actually fairly firm. And it's also fairly flat. Don't go to the drier stuff where there's like heaps and mounds. Yeah, that's not so great for your ankles. But if you go to the edge where the water's coming up, it's pretty compact, wet sand. That's perfectly acceptable surface to walk on. So you can still walk and be with your grandkids on the beach. And the other thing I recommend to Manumco, if they want to, be at the beach, is throw on a pair of, water shoes and walk in the water. So, get yourself into waist high water and just walk laps, especially if you've got joint issues. Being in that water is great for your joints, and it's pretty low impact, but you still get that cardio in just by walking in the water.
You've got that natural resistance because of the current, and if knock on wood, if you should fall and everything, you're falling into shallow water.
Exactly. Just
how about the golf course?
Golf course would be fine.
Okay.
I mean, if you want another excuse to exercise, and you like to golf, skip the caddy and walk your equipment from one hole to another. And
I couldn't even do that when I was in my 20s.
Right.
Guam's climate, I pass out by the third hole.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can, but at least walk, some of it. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. You don't need special equipment. Walking is one of the most basic things you can do.
And it's free.
and it's free, and you
Mm,
don't need a membership for it, and it's available to all socioeconomic, levels.
sure.
So
How about now, Doc? What about for people that they want to make sure that their balance is kind of kept in tip-top shape? Are there certain things that we could provide them as far as dietary, and also are there any supplements or any vitamins that would be a little bit more on the advantageous side?
I
Again,
mean,
we're fighting Father Time, so I mean, you said it's an inevitability.
yeah, I mean, getting yourself on a good quality multivitamin, probiotic, omega-3 fatty acids. I think if you got those three covered, you're probably okay. I'm not, I'm not against supplements, but I don't think, they're the end all be all. And they can get quite expensive.
Sure.
So I try to keep it as basic as possible. But as far as other exercises to improve your balance, I'm a big fan of Tai Chi. Tai Chi
Mm.
is really great for balance. Also, yoga and Pilates are also very good for balance, and even dancing. Dancing is great. Whether I know before COVID, there were in Chamorro Village, there were all those dancers on the Wednesday night.
The
Those are
Zumba
great.
classes, those
Yeah.
rule.
Also, Zumba is great. Zumba or ballroom dancing. If you're the kind of person who's like, oh, walking bores me and I'm not into these other exercises, but you love music, you love dancing, by all means, Zumba your heart out or
Mm.
ballroom dance your heart out. And there's plenty of videos on YouTube for doing all of those activities.
Mm. Cha-cha
And I
is
know,
great cardiovascular activity. I've said
yeah,
for years.
exactly. So, you can get creative with it, but all of those activities are really great for balance. My dad has been doing Tai Chi for over 30 years, and he's 86, and his balance is awesome.
Mhm.
I mean, I went hiking with him a couple years ago in Singapore. It was a big group of us, and it was different age groups. We had, older people like him, and then people my age and a few younger ones. We went on like a 3-hour hike, and my dad was at the front of the group the whole time. Like he was outpacing us all. Like we were too slow for him. And my aunties who were his age, and they were having knee problems and whatever, and it was taking forever. My dad was like, come on, people, get with the program. But he does Tai Chi every day, and it really, really is great for his balance. It's great for his flexibility. It's great for his, circulation. So
And Tai Chi is all about form and about timing and about patience and about
it is,
repetition. Mm.
it is. But if you've ever watched like videos of old people in parks in China, there's like big groups of old people doing Tai Chi. It's really a great form of exercise because
Mhm.
it's so holistic, because not only are you moving in a 360 direction, but you're using all your muscles, and it's very low impact, and again, you don't need equipment. So I know there's a group that meets every Saturday and Sunday at Epao Beach to do Tai Chi, for people that are interested.
Excellent.
But yeah, but you can also go on YouTube and look up Tai Chi videos and just follow along with that if you want a social distance, or, if getting to Epao Beach on the weekends is, too much for you, then just
Mhm.
pop up a YouTube video. That's, one of the great things about social media these days is we have so many more resources available to us than we did before.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, so those are the big ones that I recommend. The other thing that I recommend to my patients and that I've taught them, in the clinic is something I call the rock around the clock exercise. So, it's sort of loosely based on Tai Chi moves in the sense that I was trying to figure out an exercise that I could easily teach people. If they weren't into Tai Chi, but they wanted to still, kind of mimic some of the movements that would help them with their balance. So then I came up with this exercise, and it's really easy to do. And, so I have it set up in the back to show your audience.
Would you give us a demo? That would be fantastic.
Totally. So if you can look at the floor here, I have tape marked off. Basically just
shout out to the cameraman, by the way. Doing a fantastic job.
It's basically set up like the face of a clock. So
gotcha.
12 o'clock, here's 6, here's 3, and here's 9. Okay. And I recommend that you do this exercise in your bare feet, because that way you have the most, sensory perception to help train your nervous system. Okay. And if you're very, deconditioned and your balance is poor, I always recommend that you start off this exercise in front of a big piece of furniture. So if you have like a big dresser at home, or like a TV stand, or even like a sturdy dining room table, start off doing your exercise in front of the big piece of furniture, because if you start to lose your balance, then you can easily just grab onto the furniture and you don't have to worry about falling. Okay. As your balance gets better, then you don't need to rely on the furniture so much. But to start off with, I strongly recommend that you do this in front of a piece of furniture, so you at least have it to sort of hang on to if you need to. Okay. So the first thing you want to start off with is, getting your foot at like 3 o'clock position and 9 o'clock position. You want your feet to be like about shoulder width apart. Okay. And you want to make sure that when you put your weight on one side, that your weight is straight down over your ankle and knee, so it's all aligned. You don't want to be way too far over, because then you're going to lose your balance. But you don't want to be like so far in that, you're not giving yourself a challenge, because the key is to try to strengthen up the muscles in your legs and also help with your nervous system. So you start off at 3 and 9, and all you do is just shift your weight from one side to the other, just like this. 3 and 9, shift back and forth, and do this for like a minute.
You're like a human metronome.
Yes, you're like a human metronome. Just
gotcha.
Like you're just shifting your weight back and forth. Okay, so that's 3 and 9, and then you get your foot at 12 and 6. Again, your feet are kind of separated, and you're just rocking back and forth. Okay, so put your weight, shift your weight forward, and you don't want your knee to be over your foot. You want it directly under your ankle, and then just shift your weight back, and then do this, and then switch sides. So you're going to do the other side.
And how many sets of these do we do, Doc, and for how long?
I mean, if you can manage to do this for 5-10 minutes, whatever you have time for, maybe if you're starting off with and you're not very, conditioned, maybe at least try for 5 minutes. So, once you get all the cardinal directions, you got 12 and 6, you got 3 and 9. Now you're going to shoot for the corners. So get your foot at 2 o'clock, and then the other foot at like 8 o'clock. So you're like almost like at a diagonal, and then you're going to shift your weight back and forth like this. Okay. And then switch sides, go to, let's see, we were at 2 and 8. Now we're at 10 and 5.
10 and 4. Okay.
And 4, whichever. And you're going to get corners. So it looks something like this. Okay. And then as you get better, you can, go in a circle, and that'll get you, more directions. But it's about getting all those different muscles working in directions that maybe you're not used to. Because, as you get older, you never see older people walk backwards or walk sideways. All they do is walk straight forward and maybe turn. So that's only using certain muscle groups, and they're not conditioned to, change direction. And that's where you get into problems with falls.
Yeah, I've never seen an elderly person play hopscotch. I mean, and I'm not making light of the situation. I just, that is like a young person's activity, unfortunately.
Yes. All those things we do as kids, hopscotch, jump rope, trampoline, those are all great for our balance. And then, but as we get older, we start thinking, oh, those are kids' activities, and we stop doing those things because those are for children. But, if we kept doing more of those things that we thought were childish, maybe we'd stay in better shape. But, again, that's why I think, dancing would be a great one, either Zumba or ballroom, because it does force you to move in a multi-directional way, as opposed to doing the train track movements.
Yeah, and because these are low impact exercises, Doc, these are things that you would recommend to patients. Maybe they can do every day, right? Just as like light conditioning. It's not like you have to have, an older person would say, okay, today's leg day and today's back day.
Right.
Yeah.
No, these balance exercises I would recommend doing daily. 5 minutes a day, doesn't take long at all. I mean, if you think about how much time we spend in a day watching TV, watching Netflix, we could be using that time more productively by just taking 5 minutes out of that time. I mean, shoot, you could even do these balance exercises while you're watching Netflix. So it doesn't even have to
there you go.
take away from your other activities. All of these things I'm talking about. Who said you can't Zumba and, watch Desperate Housewives at the same time? You can do both of those things, I mean, multitask.
You too can get you too can stay in shape while watching the exploits of the people on Wisteria Lane.
Exactly.
And and it was funny how we said, you're a human metronome. I mean, maybe if you watch like a low tempo music video, you could kind of like sway to the rhythm. I probably wouldn't do that to like techno or house music to start out with and everything, but yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you're standing in the kitchen and you're cooking, throw some music on and you can, do some salsa moves while you're in the kitchen. I mean,
absolutely. So I think, Doc, what we've learned here today, and you've made your points, absolutely wonderfully, and we thank you for that, is, both practically and metaphorically, life needs balance.
Absolutely. I am all about balance in all things in life.
And if people have any more questions, how may they contact you? Because I'm sure, there's a bunch of other use cases, we haven't even covered, like, post-operative people or, people in all sorts of different conditions and everything. So people will probably have questions. How can they get in touch with you with more?
They can contact me at FHP Clinic. Do you want me to give out the number? Okay. 671-646-5825. And there's also a website and we have Facebook pages. You can contact us that way.
Yeah. So that's the time when you want to hit up social media, when you want to get in touch with Dr. Tham and her team over there. So Doc, always good catching up with you. And thank you so much for the information. This has been unbelievably informative.
Good. I'm glad. And I hope this helps more people to live a more balanced lifestyle. Totally...
so we started off with a word on the wall, and we ended with it when they ended with a pun. That is perfect.
Exactly.
All right, thank you so much, and please stay safe, and thank you for what you do, and again, all of your team at FHP for keeping us all healthy. And again, best of health to you. You frontliners are total rock stars, and we really appreciate you guys.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you for watching this video from Take Care and FHP Health Center. For more videos like this one to help you live a more balanced lifestyle, please subscribe and like our social media pages. And don't forget to turn on the notifications. For more information about Take Care and FHP Health Center, please go to takecareasia.com.